Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing, right? What I'm discussing in this video is how to make leveling up your default mode. Right? So you see a lot of people online when it comes to like the new year, setting resolutions and talking about what 2025 is going to be and those sort of things. And it really puts you in a perspective to understand that most people see going for things and leveling up and being their greatest version as something that's outside of their normal way of being, rather than just the way that they are in general. So it's something that they feel like they can turn on and then turn off. I would challenge you to challenge yourself to work on ways to make leveling up your default, so that way you're always in front of the game. You're always at the leading edge, no matter what, right? So I put together a little list of things that I feel like helps us become a default leveling up type person, right? Number one is, and they're not in any particular order, and it's probably not even number ones and twos. I'm just saying that. So the first thought I had was waking up every morning, and I'm looking at notes with thinking about how your day is going to go. So many people get up on a regular basis and they're kind of on autopilot. They kind of just get up, put their feet out of the bed, and they let the day drag them into what needs to be done. Now, that's not to say I don't have days like this where I get up and I'm like, oh my God, it's already 7:30 and I got to get the girls to school. Let me make something, make a lunch or whatever I need to do. And I don't necessarily get in front of it with a meditation or with an affirmation or an intention for the day, but I'll do it at some point. But that is not the way that you want to run your everyday life. If you are allowing your day to be pulling you forward all the time, then you're never in a space of creativity. Creativity is when you get that inspired action. Creativity is when you get the ideas, the ones that are going to create the life that you choose to live. And you can't get into that space if you're always bogged down with the clutter of what has to happen next, and you haven't really just said, this is what is going to come from today. This is how I'm going to treat this day. This is what I'm going to do today. And you kind of just let the day get you, especially if people are calling your phone, they're sending you text messages, they're interrupting whatever little moments you have before you can start your day. You really don't get a chance to do that. So just kind of get into the mode of everyday think, how am I going to conquer this day to day? How am I going to stay ahead of everything that's happening today? Another thought is, and this is an important thought, to me this is one of the most important. Pay attention to your thoughts. If you don't pay attention to your thoughts, they will literally go on autopilot and have you in every nook and cranny of nonsense that you don't want to think about on a regular basis. It will have you there all in your head. And matter of fact, I'll urge you a little further to think about thoughts like this. Your thoughts are creating your entire life. It's like the same way two people can be looking at the exact same situation, and one person can think this is unsurmountable, and another person can think this is something that I can conquer. Well, guess what? Life is going to play out specifically to how those people are formulating those thoughts related to what they're experiencing. And if you're experiencing something in your head, because it's all happening in your head, because you're looking at the same exact situation with someone else, right? So what you're making of it is happening in your head. Right? And you may go find confirmation of it on a website. You may go run to Reddit and say, does anybody agree? It really doesn't matter. It just means you and that person that agree are coming up with the same thoughts that are controlling how you see that situation. But if you change your thoughts around it, you can see something different. Depending on how you see everything in life is how you approach things. If you see your day as something that's conquerable, then you'll approach it in that way. If you see it as something that's going to just take you and lead you into, what happens next and how I got to serve everyone and what I got to do next and what's going to be the biggest part of my day that I don't like and all this sort of stuff, then that's what you're going to experience throughout that whole entire day. That's just how that works. Another thing is, thoughts become things. I want to stop and say that because I'm really big on the book, The Science of Getting Rich. It's one of my favorite. And I think when the first time I heard that term, that thoughts become things, it really sunk into my brain that what we create in our heads is truly what we experience. If we create that someone is treating us negatively, we're going to experience that negativity. If we say Instead, this person is acting out on their own accord, and what they're going through has nothing to do with me. That's exactly the experience that you're going to have. And eventually, if they keep up the behavior, they'll wander their way out of your life. That's just how that works. Thoughts become things. There's no bigger statement that I feel like I can make in this video right now. Is that thoughts become things. How you think about a situation is what you're going to experience in that situation. Bottom line. Pay attention to how you feel when you go in certain environments. That's another one. So if you're in a leveling up mode and you're always thinking like, how can I improve my life? How can I improve the life of others and all that sort of thing? You always want to make sure you're feeling yourself through many environments, because sometimes environments can be tricky. They can look perfect. The people can look perfect. Everything can be perfect on paper, but the feeling that you're getting from that space may tell you something different. And I'm not saying always just run with your feelings and say, oh, this is making me feel this way, then that must mean this. But just pay attention to environments where you like something is off in this space, right? And when you feel like something is off, and then you kind of get into observation mode. You're no longer in like autopilot mode. You start paying attention to your surroundings because you want to understand, why does this feel a little bit off? You're not just jumping to a conclusion that these people don't like me. This place is the worst. I don't like this environment, whatever. You're saying, hey, I'm giving it an opportunity, but why do I feel so off in this space? And a lot of times you'll come back to conclusions is that, that I'm being drained because I'm giving too much of myself. I'm being, my energy is being dunked out of me because nobody's exchanging evenly with me at the same level at which I want to exchange. You'll start to see really clearly why things are the way they are. And it doesn't mean that you go judging the environments in a harsh, negative way. You just make decisions that kind of help you maneuver if you have to be in certain environments. So in your leveling up process, always pay attention to, how do I feel when I go to this space or that space? Because sometimes it's just stores. There's like 2 different Targets that I go to all the time. And one of them, when I go in, it feels so heavy and busy and like not the experience I want to have when I go run in Target to go get some salads and some, granola bars. The other one that I go to, while it's smaller and it's always iffy whether or not they're going to have the stuff you're looking for. But it feels so much better. The people are easier going. There's always less people in the store. There's never any like security guard walking around every aisle looking like this. So it just depends. And so because of that, I rarely go to the other one unless I'm really in a pinch and I need something they have. But I rarely go to it because my whole goal is to put myself in environments where I feel like I can expand and flourish. And if those are not that's not the environment, and I'm getting this, sixth sense feeling about it, then I'm going to go ahead and extract myself from it, right? Always pay attention to your environments and how they make you feel. Always go into every situation with the intention of, how can I make this situation better? It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a new job. It can be a new relationship. Those are really big where you can kind of think like that. Because what I hear most people talk about when they talk about new relationships is what a person needs to do for them. And I already know they're going down the wrong road, even if they have the best intentions. If they're talking about, the person has to be like this. They have to give me this. They have to treat me like this. They have to understand this in life. They have to be this way. All of that stuff is fine and dandy. But what is more important is, how do you want to show up in that relationship? How do you want to show up for that new job? How do you want to show up in that business that you just started, right? It's not even about the other people. When you're really leveling up, you're always going to be in a position of control. You're always going to put yourself in the driver's seat, in a space where you are in charge of what's happening next to some degree. You control what you can, right? And thoughts are the biggest thing that you can control most of the time, right? Your thoughts, like pretty much all the time, but we're all going to slip because we're human. But your thoughts are the biggest thing you can control. But other than that, you walk into a situation, say it's not that great, and it's something that you need to do, that's something that has to be done. You're always in a place of, how do I make this environment better? You walk into a store or a doctor's office and the receptionist is in a bad mood. There's too many people in there. Believe me, I have daughters, I have kids. I've been into doctor's offices where there were too many kids in there. And like, I like my kids, but I do not like being in rooms where children are just running amok. And I'm like, my goodness, my thought process is like, how can I make this better? She seems like she's having a rough go of it. I'll come up there and say, it's busy today, huh? Oh, yes. And it's like, and so that mode that she's in automatically is broken. And I'm like, well, I hope your day, I hope it gets easier, because I know with all these kids, it is loud and crazy in here. And because somebody understands, she goes, yes, this is a mess. They need to stop overscheduling. And while she dumped on me for a second, my thought process is, when I walked away, that I made her day a little bit better. Whatever situation you're walking into, always think of, how can I make this situation better? And that doesn't mean it has to be bad, but what can I add to it, right? You work at a small mom and pop shop, you notice you walk in there and they don't have an open and close sign. Why do they not have an open and close sign? That's neither here nor there. But you're like, hey, I noticed there's no open and close sign. I saw some down the street at the consignment shop. They were like $5, right? They were used, but they serve their purpose. You can turn them off and on. They say open, close. And they go, wow, thank you. I've been meaning to get to that. But running a business takes a lot of work. I haven't had a chance to do it. Automatically, you're seen as a valuable asset because you looked at the environment and said, how can I make this environment better? That's leveling yourself up. And it's also leveling up the people that you're connected to. Always think, whenever you leave a situation and you're doing like what they call Monday morning quarterbacking, what they call retrospect or postmortems. When you go back and you're just like, something went wrong in that situation, always think, because you are in the process of making your life better and trying to make the lives better of the people around you and having a more peaceful existence, an existence that has more freedom and more access to things that you want to have access to and experience in this life. So you're always thinking, I'm leveling up and I'm thinking this way. I experienced this situation and it went negatively. What role did I play in the negativity, and how can I do better the next time? So many people walk away from negative situations and they immediately think about what everybody else was doing wrong. Well, we already know everybody was doing something wrong. That's not even like something you got to really spend time on. We already know this person was being competitive. This person was being jealous. This person was being angry. This person was being ungrateful, whatever. We have all of these words for other people. But if you're really trying to improve and level up your life, the first thing you need to do when you leave situations like that, you go, what role did I play in the conflict or the nonsense or the confusion? And how can I be better the next time? How can I do this a little bit better the next time around? Always think that way. Because not only are you improving yourself, whenever you interact with the people in the next environment that you're going to be in, you have better tools. You don't just walk in thinking these people better not be like the last people. It doesn't matter if they are. You'll have tools for conflict resolution. You'll have tools for interacting with people that you didn't have before, all because you sat there and did a little introspection and was like, what role did I play? I kind of was standoffish. I kind of was rude sometimes, but like passive aggressively rude. You'll see when you start to look deeper, you'll see what role that you were playing. It'll be very clear. Another way to continue your default position of being a person that's just leveling up everywhere you go is, how do I have a better day tomorrow? When you get up and you have a day, or you have an instance to where you were just off that day, your emotions were off track, your hormones were out of whack, right? Ladies know what I mean by that. I'm sure men experience it, but I don't really know. But I do know that ladies definitely do. It was out of whack and you're just like, I didn't get anything done. I was so tired all day. I was exhausted for no good reason. The first thing I do when I go lay in the bed at night and I'm just like, I'm ready for this, I'm ready to go ahead and put this day to rest. I'm always like, how can I make tomorrow better? And I'm like, I know what I'll do. I'll make sure that I make myself warm tea when I get up in the morning. I'll make sure that I journal before I get out of bed. I'll make sure that I say my prayers before I leave my bedroom. I'll have all these things lined up because I'm always thinking, even though these rough days happen, I don't have to experience the rough days so viscerally. I can experience them with a bird's eye view if I have the right mindset. So we want to get into the space where we're always thinking like, how can I make tomorrow better? Because tomorrow can be better. It can always be better, no matter what, right? And then in most situations, when you're faced with choices or you're faced with environments to where you're just like, you can go this way or you can go that way, right? Think about what is the best choice for me, for my long-term peace, happiness, freedom, and what will be the best choice for the people also in the environment. Get away from the mindset of everybody is, less than me and my decisions and what I need is more important. Sometimes you need to extract yourself from environments because people need to be able to review their own selves and review what they got going on and review what's not working out for them. So you're not making a decision based on, I want to leave them in a lurch and I want to make them feel bad and make them miss me and all these kind of attitudes. You're extracting yourself in a way that is going to be beneficial to both people, even if the other people or the other person doesn't see it in that moment, right? They'll see it eventually. So you have to think to yourself all the time, what is the best choice in this instance? How can I make a choice or a decision that's good for everybody around me? Sometimes we let our emotions run rampant and we make decisions that are like hardcore, super selfish. And we're not thinking for 1 second, how is this going to affect this person? How does it affect their children? How does it affect their outcomes? How does it affect their tomorrow? We always got to think like, even if I don't get what I want exactly today, even if it's not something specific that I want to have access to, even if I can't be instantly gratified in this environment or this situation, how can I make a choice that is as diplomatic as possible? That is a part of leveling up. That is true leadership. When you can take yourself out of the equation and say, what is the best choice for this particular situation? What is the best outcome that can happen? And maybe you don't know what it is, but I feel strongly that when you have the intentions of walking into environments and thinking that way, that your choice, even though you may not know whether it's the best choice, it still winds up being a choice that is good for everyone for the most part. And you still can walk away knowing that you did your best and you tried your best and you know that you gave your best to it. So always look at every situation and go, what's the best choice? Not the choice that's going to make me happy right now in this second. Not the choice that's going to like show this person what I'm made of or whatever. What is the best choice that's going to give me the long-term peace and stability that I want to experience on a regular basis? And then last but not least, I think on your leveling up journey, everybody knows this, and I've made videos about this before. Never dwell on things that didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. And I don't care if it's your childhood. I don't care how far you got to go back to start dwelling on things. I don't care if it's that previous job that had the toxic environment. Don't dwell on it. At one point, I was in an environment, and I mentioned this before, where I felt like it was just rough, right? When I look back now, I still think about what could I have done differently to change that situation. And sometimes I come up with nothing, and sometimes I come up with a few things, and sometimes I come up to a dead end, but I always think like that. But when you are going back and thinking about these things, I was on YouTube for a while, and every video that popped up, because I typed it in one time, am I in a toxic environment? Because I'm not even sure. Are these people really, acting this way? I'm not, because it's gaslighting, it's passive aggressiveness. I'm not sure what's happening. So I went and looked it up, and I made sure that, I did my due diligence. But after that, it was just popping up in my feed constantly. And I was watching the videos because there's nothing like getting confirmation when you're in a situation where you feel like you're being gaslit. So when that situation was done, those videos just kept popping up over and over again. But I literally had to take deliberate action to get it out of my feed, because I was like, I don't want to dwell on that. I can review and do an introspection and kind of look at it and say what could have been done differently. But I don't need to dwell on what these people were doing. Their history, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. In my life, they don't exist anymore. So even if they were up to no good, they don't have access to me anymore unless I give them access through my thoughts, the thoughts that we need to be controlling, the thoughts that we need to be in front of. Sometimes in life, we have very few things that we have control over. But one thing that's for sure is we can control our thoughts, right? So don't dwell. Stop talking about your childhood and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, this stuff happened. And if you get around people where that's the automatic conversation, if you can stop yourself ahead of time, go ahead and stop yourself, because it doesn't get you anything to sit there and dwell on old things. It's the opposite of leveling up. To me, that's leveling down, back into dark and damp and drab places that did not serve you, and you had to learn something from it, and you learned that thing. And once you learn it, then it's a valuable nugget. It's a valuable piece of your history. You don't have to keep on talking about it, dwelling on it. Sure, that person you dated was a fool. Sure, that person you dated was a butthole. Everybody probably agrees with you, and they can point out all the behaviors that say that it's awful or this or that, whatever. Well, sometimes you just can't dwell in those places because they don't give you a quality of life. This is especially for people who are raising kids, and you have somebody who's making that kind of hard and in the opposite direction, another parent, they're not being cooperative, all these sort of things. If you can get out of dwelling on it while it's happening, you're going to be like a winner. Believe me, you're going to be like a leveling up default winner. if you can get out of it while it's happening. Because to me, that's the best show of emotional intelligence, and that you want more for your life. When you can not dwell on something that's currently happening to you right there in the moment. It's like your life gets so much better. And you can leave them to the negativity, and you can take away, you know what? I'm just going to have a more positive life. I'm going to have a better life, and I'm going to create that. And I'm not going to dwell on the past, because the past has already happened. Anyway, so those are my tips on how to be in a default mode of leveling up. Don't always think about it as something that you need to just jump into on the weekend. You know, like, okay, this is my day of, giving it my all. This is my week. I'm doing it this week. Get your lifestyle in that space. Once you get your lifestyle there, then the leveling up part is going to be fun, right? The saying no to the bad foods is going to be fun, because you're going to feel like, man, I conquered that. I'm really good at this thing. You're not going to even be worrying about the instant gratification you get from eating a little donut. It won't even be remotely enough to satisfy you. So get on your leveling up journey and make sure that it's just a default mode of who you are. And I hope these tips help you in that process. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.